Do you ever feel like your income potential is kind of locked in a box, and the only key seems to be just working more hours?
Yeah, like you're constantly just trading your time for money, and, well, that's just how it works.
Exactly. Well, today we're going to explore why that way of thinking, that direct link between hours worked and money earned, might be more limiting than you realize. Maybe even a bit uh, dangerous for your actual growth.
That's right. We're doing a deep dive based on an article. It's called Dein Stundenlohn ist eine Lüge. So denkst du in Werten statt in Zeit.
Which means,
Ah, right. It translates to something like, your hourly wage is a lie, how to think in values instead of time. And it really gets into this core belief, this idea that our financial worth is directly tied, hour by hour, to the time we put in. It challenges that whole setup.
it really does. The article basically argues that this whole time for money thing is, well, it's kind of a relic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Left over from the industrial age.
Factory floors, clocking in and out, direct correlation between hours and output.
But that just doesn't always fit today's world, right? With knowledge work, services, ideas driving so much value. The article's main point is that sticking to that old model, it's actually holding you back.
Absolutely. And for you listening, we really hope this conversation gives you a new perspective, a different way to look at your work and how you earn. We'll dig into how shifting your focus away from just logging hours towards creating real value could open doors.
Yeah, maybe lead to more freedom, maybe help you scale your impact in ways you haven't even thought about yet. We're hoping for a few of those, aha moments today.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so the article really hammers home the limitations, the constraints of this traditional time for money deal.
Right.
What are the biggest walls it puts up?
Well, the most obvious one is just the hard ceiling, right? Like you said, there are only 24 hours in a day.
And you can't work all of them.
Exactly. So there's a very real physical limit on how much you can earn if your pay is directly tied to those hours. And that can lead to feeling like you're perpetually, earning.
Right, like anytime you're not working is technically lost income. That constant pressure.
That feeling of always needing to be on. And it connects to what the article says about scalability, too.
Ah, yeah, scalability. How does the hourly model mess with that?
Well, it makes growth really linear, usually. To earn significantly more, you basically have to work significantly more hours. There's not much leverage there.
So it's like a one-to-one trade. 1 hour of your time equals 1 unit of pay.
Pretty much. The article contrasts that with, say, creating something, maybe a digital product, a system that can then provide value to lots of people at the same time without you needing to trade more of your direct time for each person served.
That makes perfect sense. It's the difference between filling a bucket 1 cup at a time versus turning on a hose, maybe?
That's a good way to put it. And another really interesting point the article brings up is how hourly billing can sometimes accidentally prioritize the quantity of time over the actual quality or the value delivered.
How so?
Well, think about it. A really brilliant idea, something truly game-changing for a client, might pop into your head in, 10 minutes. Or a quick consultation could totally shift a business's direction.
But if you're billing by the hour.
Right. There can be this subtle or sometimes not so subtle pressure to kind of stretch the work out, to make the time spent feel like it justifies the bill, even if the core value, the main insight, was delivered much faster.
Yeah, I can see that. It's almost that absurdity of feeling like you need to keep tinkering just to fill the hour, even if the problem's already solved.
Exactly that absurdity. Which naturally leads us to the big shift the article is pushing for. Moving away from thinking just about time and focusing instead on value.
Okay, so what does that actually look like? Shifting to value-based thinking.
Well, the fundamental question changes. Instead of asking, how many hours did I work? Or how many hours will this take? The article suggests asking something like, what value does the result of this work have for the other person? And, crucially, how can I increase that value? It completely reframes it, doesn't it?
It really does. Suddenly, the hours you put in become, well, less relevant than how effective the work actually is, the impact it has.
Precisely. It shifts the focus from your input, the time, to the output, the value created for someone else. And this is where that idea of leverage comes back in a big way.
Right, leverage. Amplifying your effort somehow. How does thinking in value help with that?
Because when you're focused on delivering value, you naturally start thinking about ways to deliver that value more efficiently and to more people. You start looking at systems, automation, maybe creating digital products, scalable offers.
Things that aren't just you trading 1 hour for one payment.
Exactly. Moving from that one-to-one model to more of a one-to-many, or even as the article puts it, a one-to-infinity model. Like the example they use is creating an online course.
Ah, okay. Tell me about that.
You put in the work up front, right?
Yeah.
You build the course, record the videos, write the materials. That takes time, sure. But once it's done,
It can be sold over and over again.
to thousands of people potentially, without you having to be there teaching each person individually. Your initial time investment is decoupled from the ongoing income and the value delivered.
That's a really clear example. What else did the article mention?
Another good one was coaching packages. Instead of just selling, say, 1-hour coaching
You
sessions.
sell a program designed to get someone a specific result.
Exactly. A transformation. The client isn't just buying your time. They're investing in achieving a goal, solving a major problem. The value is in that outcome, not the number of minutes you spent on Zoom calls.
Right, shifting from the clock to the actual tangible result. That makes sense. Did they mention other areas?
Yeah, it touched on investments too. Things like stocks, real estate, even investing in your own business.
How does that fit the value model?
Well, the initial work, the research, the analysis, making the decision that requires effort and thought. But once the investment is made, it has the potential to generate returns over time without demanding more and more of your active hours. It's about that initial strategic effort creating future value.
Okay, I see the connection.
And then there's content creation, like creating videos, articles, maybe a podcast, like this one.
Meta.
Right. You create it once, and it builds what the article calls digital value. It can keep working for you, informing people, building authority, attracting opportunities, long after you hit publish.
So it's all about building these kinds of assets, things that provide value repeatedly, rather than just constantly selling your present time. Okay, this is clicking. But how do we actually start doing this, making that mental shift? The article gave some practical steps, right?
It did, and it really stressed that the change has to start in your head. It's about questioning those deep down beliefs about work, money, and your time. Really asking yourself, is this hourly thing the only way?
Challenging the status quo in our own minds first.
Exactly, and it offers some really potent questions for self-reflection. I think these are super helpful for anyone listening.
Okay, let's hear them. What should you be asking yourself?
All right, question 1. How can I create more value, not just invest more time? Simple but powerful. Shifts the focus immediately.
From effort to outcome. Got it.
Second, how can I build systems instead of just doing individual tasks? That pushes you towards efficiency, scalability.
Thinking bigger picture, beyond just the next thing on the to-do list. Okay.
Yeah. Then, what aspects of what I currently do can be scaled or multiplied? This directly challenges that one-to-one time trade.
Finding ways to break that linear link. Makes sense.
And finally, what tangible results can I deliver that others would find truly transformative? This really gets to the heart of it, focusing on the impact you make for others.
Wow, those are great questions.
Yeah.
They really force you to step back and think differently about your work, don't they? Beyond just clocking in and out.
They do, and the underlying point the article makes is that ultimately your income tends to reflect the perceived value you deliver, not just the number of hours you build.
So the more value others see in what you do, the higher your potential income, regardless of the exact time spent.
That's the idea. Which brings us to the article's really strong concluding thought. You are not your hourly wage. You are your impact.
I like that. You are your impact.
Yeah. It's a reminder that while the hourly model is familiar, maybe feels safe sometimes, it fundamentally limits your growth, your freedom. The article really encourages adopting more of an entrepreneurial mindset.
Meaning valuing your thinking, your creativity.
Exactly. Your ability to solve problems, to create valuable things, those aren't really bound by time, are they? An idea can be worth far more than the hour it took to think of it.
So boiling it down, the main takeaway here seems to be that consciously shifting your focus away from just counting hours and towards actively creating and delivering value can unlock completely new possibilities, both for your income and the difference you make.
That's the core insight, absolutely. Recognizing the limits of the old model and embracing the potential of thinking in terms of value.
So as you're processing all this, here's something to think about. What's maybe one area, just one, in your work, or maybe even your life outside work, where you could consciously try to shift your focus away from the time spent and really hone in on the value you're delivering or the value you could deliver?
Yeah, and just imagine for a second, what could you create? What kind of impact could you really have if you truly managed to decouple your earning potential from the fixed number of hours in a day? What would that make possible for you?
Definitely some food for thought there. This deep dive, it's really just scratching the surface of this mindset shift, but hopefully it's giving you some new perspectives.
We encourage you to keep thinking about these ideas. See how focusing on value might open up new paths for you.